Today we're going to go over something else ghastly here today. We're going to do this Michaela Peter skunk footage coverage here today. Of course, what's her name? Jordan Peterson's daughter has finally made the move. I'm so happy that we've been slowly covering Michaela Peterson for the last year and a half, 2 years. I think it was ever since we saw her on Rogan. We go, something's up with this woman. And really, it was. People, they hate my clip. By the way, I did this clip about the Petersons called Demons, where we make fun of Michaela and her mom and all those creepy things that she did. It's like my most hated clip. I mean, it's got thousands of dislikes, and the comments are literally like this. You are a monster. This is the most toxic thing on YouTube. You should be banned. I'm reporting this. Everybody, we must report this. And it was literally because I was making fun of the family for being kooky. But in their mind, I was making fun of a family that has cancer. Well, the family doesn't have cancer, just the mom. But I'm glad I did. And I recognize that this Michaela was weird when she referred to her dad as just dad. I bring this up because there are thousands of comments in that clip I did that saying, calling somebody dad is not weird at all.
Disagree.
Okay, says who? You and what army? So she's been on my radar ever since, and people get a big kick out of her. You know, she's the carnivore queen. She started this all meat diet thing, and she swears it got rid of all her mysterious ailments. I remember a time a few months ago, somebody was just posting a random picture of her in the Bring Back group, and another listener asked, he goes, man, what's with all this Michaela stuff? You guys seem obsessed. What is the deal with this? And I'm glad he asked. Because sometimes with a fool, you got to give it some time. We sat on Denny for years, following his small moves, because we sensed something was there. We go, this guy, there's something with him. He hasn't done anything big yet, but he will. And oh boy, has Denny been a blessing to the show. We got some great Denny stuff coming up for you after this. And with Michaela, it's been the same way. Having patience with a fool could have a great payoff. We're starting to get those payoffs here. Michaela has finally flipped the switch and gone from, okay, Mike, she's a little kooky, but leave her alone, to, whoa, she's scamming people? Is she actually a bad person? Were we right all along? Or were we just kidding? We find out today. The Lion's Lair opens now. So we know about this. We know she's got this thing called the Meat Group. And this thing, you've heard about this, the Meat Group, and it's so funny. It's just like a Facebook group like ours. It's all these carnivore people in there. They're getting weird, the carnivore people. The carnivore people are almost into being sick. And they claim that they're all very, very ill. They all have different diseases, and that this carnivore diet has turned their lives complete 180. They're healthy now, which is so weird. If you're healthy now, okay, stop talking about it and go live a life of health. Be like being in a cancer forum for 15 years after you have cancer, still talking about it. Remember the time I had cancer? Oh, those were the days. Get over it, move on if it's working. You've got people posting in there every day. Listen to this one. I was sick. I've been sick for years. Terrible arthritis, headaches. I can't think. I can't see. I could barely walk, bedridden. The doctors didn't know what it was. I was in terrible pain. I've been on the carnivore diet for a day now. And I got to say, I feel 100% better. This thing really works. These are real stories. People think one day of eating just meat is enough to cure them. And they're literally saying this. Now, I went ahead. I did the carnivore diet for, I think, 40 days, Jules.
Something like
that.
It did nothing. You've done your research.
It did nothing. And I went full carnivore. I followed all the rules. Yeah. I really did do this when it first came out because I got a lot of ailments too. I said, let me try this. What if I feel great?
For me.
It was torture for you. Now, it's just like anything else. If you take all the bad stuff out of your diet, maybe the bad stuff that was causing you whatever is gone now and you're going to feel a little bit better. But it's definitely not reversing diseases within a day. I was on it for 40 days, felt worse. Okay. I was a mess. Maybe I needed longer, but we're not talking about people who have been on it for a year and they're saying they've gotten results. We're talking about people that have been on it for a week and are claiming all my ailments are gone. So she starts the meat group. This is a Facebook group. And every day we see screenshots from this meat group posted to our group because they're so funny. People making ground beef water. They've been on the carnivore diet for 3 days and they're already out of meat ideas. I mean, this really isn't a hard concept. There's like 1 million fine cuts of meat you could eat every day without getting bored.
Some people were making frozen meat cubes that they swallowed like a pill.
So there'd be a guy on the diet for a week and he'd be like, it's really hard coming up with just meat things to eat. So I invented this thing. And it's literally ground beef chopped up like taco meat in a bowl with water. Why? Why add the water? So he's showing this to his meat group, Michaela's meat group, and Michaela and all of them are congratulating him on his inventive idea to give people another option to eat through the week. I really want to preface this and make sure this is perfectly clear to everybody. He had a bowl of ground beef. He could have just eaten that with a fork. He decided to pour in a cup of water. Why? Why add the water? That's not a drink. That's not a soup. He didn't cook it with the water. You don't need it. And again, you're not out of options yet. It would take, I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to take 3 or 4 years before you run out of regular. I mean, you could go a year eating hamburger patties before you're like, I need some more options here. There's a lot to eat. There are a lot of cuts of meat. Go to that butcher counter. You could really make every day a different dish out of just meat. It's not that hard. But these guys, they're into the sharing. They're into the community aspect here. So they're keeping their diseases going, but at the same time saying that the carnivore diet healed them. Well, then, okay, then you don't need to be here anymore. Congratulations. Off to the world with you. But no, they're still here talking about all this stuff. And Michaela has really started an entire career around healing people. And it's been a long journey with her because she started off by telling, her story, but she always said, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. Do not listen to me. Do not take my advice, because it gets squirrely there, right? You got Dr. Jordan Peterson, one of the most famous doctors of our generation. His daughter is out there giving all this wacky-dacky health advice that has no evidence to back it up, okay? There's no evidence backing up this diet works. So, yeah, you got Jordan Peterson's daughter. Maybe it's not a good idea for her especially, to be using that Peterson name, Dr. Peterson's name, to be giving lost souls who are in crippling chronic pain medical advice. Yikes. Not a good arena. Not a good ballpark. Now, the other thing we noticed about Michaela is that she has a daughter, a very dirty daughter. I don't say this. The daughter is filthy. The daughter needs a bath. Okay? It's always greasy. Not a beef bath, a real bath. She's always eating cubes of half-cooked ribeye from the air fryer. Her dad is in rehab. Still, nobody has heard from the man. Okay? And her husband has mysteriously vanished, and we found out about this a few months ago when we realized all the selfies she was taking in her bedroom. You could see her bed in the mirror, and the bed only has one dang nightstand. The bed is in the middle of the room. You got one nightstand, that's it. So the husband, what does he do with his belongings? Where's his alarm clock? Where does he keep his water? Well, we find out the husband is left. He's gone. So she's single. She's out there on the prowl, and every night she showcases another fan at Barbarian's Steakhouse. She takes him to the Keg. She goes to Barbarian's. Do you know these places in Toronto? The Keg, Barbarian's. She goes every night. And every night she's got a picture of a $75 bone-in ribeye glistening, saying, Barbarians. And you go, who is she with? Well, it's a different guy every night, I think. every night, I think a new fan meets her at Barbarians. Oh, I got this. Don't worry, I got this. Oh, are you sure? Thank you. Her and little Sketchator, they eat for free. Now, we've made fun of all those things before, but today, Michaela has finally taken things to the next level to where, yikes, are you committing sinful stuff now? Let me introduce you to the newest Michaela Peterson concoction, the Lion's Lair. Here it is, the Lion Diet. Remember, she created the Lion Diet, the all-meat Lion Diet, the Lion's Lair. Strictly limited to the first 100 fast-acting bosses only. Ooh, does this look sketchy? Does this look sketchy? Now, why is this so sketchy? Well, the Lion's Lair has an extremely high price point, and I think I'll show you that first before showing you some of these videos. And the man, thank you to Thomas Wabushki for introducing me to a man named Tate, who she's hooked up with. Wait till you see this. Look at this. Become a lion today. Join here. Okay, I will. Get instant access, a 1-year membership to the Lion's Lair. It used to be $1,200. Now only $599. Yikes. So,
what up, y'all? How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Jeremy, have you heard of Redbar?
No. Yeah,
that guy's name is Mike David. He's my favorite comedian in the world, but he's not vegan. He just sees, basically goes after cringy people.
No, we need a lot of those people. Yeah, that's part of the solution.
Just common sense trash, Michaela Peterson.
Huh?
Paying a ton of money just to be as fucking lazy as you could possibly be.
Yeah, just using common sense to trash Michaela Peterson, that weird lifestyle.
That's like the biggest self goal, own goal. The biggest own goal you can possibly do as a human is to just be like, I need validation to be the laziest, most cowardly fucking fuck I was before, but I'm gonna pay somebody
$600 a month.
$600 a month to do the same lazy, cowardly shit.
It's a
I was doing anyway.
$1,200 value, you guys.
They gotta package it up. They gotta make it look nice, because if you knew what you were getting into, you got all this information for free. But why am I paying for this?
Yeah, you're paying somebody to tell you good omega, good omega being fucking cowardly and lazy and just stuffing your face with the.
You're paying for a new rock bottom.
Easiest shit.
It's pretty funny. The Lion Diet. Yeah.
Hey, is my mic doing okay this time? I'm trying to work out.
Turn it up. Maybe just turn it up a little bit. You're a little quiet.
Okay,
you're a little dark.
Yeah, I got a little bit different of a setup, but I'm trying to evolve my setup a little bit. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Phil's here. Nice. I invited Phil. I was hoping he'd be free.
Cool. Well,
he's got to take care of his infant son. But
Phil. That's right. Hey. Carson is alive. He replied to me today. Yeah, where has that guy been? I haven't seen any votes happening.
He's been sick, man. We haven't heard the details. We're all worried.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I got sick after Christmas family dinner 2 years in a row.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You think you got some some contamination?
I don't know.
From animal products or something like
maybe.
Yeah. It could just be airborne from all the people that were there, right?
There were a hell of a lot of people in there. I kept opening up the windows because it was getting so hot.
Gross.
Petri dish. It's always fun.
Yeah, so we'll watch a little bit more of this. It's pretty funny. Her videos where she's like trying to get dudes to sign up is like the funniest thing I've ever seen.
This is a brand. This is how you know it's a scheme. You don't got to know anything more. It says was $1,200, now only $599. When was it $1,200? It was literally we introduced. This was the first time it was ever introduced. $599, and you know this, man.
Man.
So she's already using this scammy stuff. Let's look at the intro video.
You have to scroll all the way.
It's not only
Yeah,
half
look at
price,
this. To even
but
see
way
that.
less than
This
half price.
is, I think she went to a ghost hunter to have this website built. This is, you will only see a website like this when you visit a paranormal
It's
investigator.
designed like a Morton's steakhouse, of
Oh,
course.
okay. You know, the cursor on this page is a little ghost. Is that normal? When my mouse is on this page, it's of a ghost. Okay. Very ghost huntery. Let's watch her little intro video. Let's see what this is all about. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Michaela Peterson.
Wow.
I've successfully
Wait, Carson got the jibby jab? Is that what? Yikes. That sucks. I didn't know.
treated myself
I'm not surprised, but I didn't know.
for multiple autoimmune problems.
Wow. Those are some. I've successfully treated myself. I don't think you could even say so. This is squirrely. Here she is in her date night leather
My
jacket.
genetics are so bad, nobody should ever
Her hair's been
reproduce with me.
shit lately too, man. Hasn't her hair been bad? It's been so whack. I don't know what's going on with her hair. Her hair
She's
used
been
to be.
using beef gel,
Yeah, I mean she's
beef
really a mess.
tallow
So
as
here
shampoo.
here she is, looking like the Katie Seagal from Sons of Anarchy. And listen to her little intro. I haven't even heard all this. Let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Michaela Peterson. I've successfully treated myself for multiple autoimmune problems. Serious.
Michaela, you want to drink? Oh, she
I
drank.
had my
She
hip
does
and
drink.
ankle replaced when I was 17. I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
When I was 7, I had symptoms since I was 2. I was diagnosed with idiopathic hypersomnia.
Idiopathic?
Severe chronic depression with hypomanic episodes. Rashes that appeared out of nowhere when I was about 18. I was itchy everywhere. I was sleeping all the time.
This sounds like when I described like a haunted house. Doors that led to nowhere. Windows that wouldn't open. Cabinets that screamed. You know, this all goes back. They found out that she has Lyme disease. Untreated Lyme disease, and all this stuff that she's saying is because she has Lyme disease. She found out she has Lyme disease like a year ago, and goes, "This isn't really good for my
Didn't
carnivore
really
thing.
want to bring it up.
Doesn't really go with my carnivore thing. So I'm going to just pretend that the diet fixed all my ailments. And you know what? Maybe they did. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. What if they did? It's still a giant mistake to make this your career. I believe she has more to offer the world than this. I'll go ahead and say it. As Dr. Peterson's daughter. Smart girl. Fine as fuck. Probably a solid 7.6.
I'm looking at a solid 7.6.
You to offer the world than this meta stuff. You know, people get so cooped up when people do this. I learned this a long time ago. The more you know about a certain subject, the more it seems like you are really interested in that subject. So she's trying to heal herself and she starts learning about it. You see people do this with health all the time. They become like health guys after a while. It's like, this isn't you. We're seeing it with politics now. You've got guys that are so invested in the day-to-day with Trump and all this stuff that all of a sudden they're political experts, and that's what they want to do now. Don't go that direction. Run away from it. When you start feeling that happening, you're not a doctor, you're not a nutritionist, you're not going to save anybody's life. Stop with that hustle. You could do a better service to the world with something else. Let's hear this.
When I was about 18, I was itchy everywhere. I was sleeping all the time. Have you ever felt like you were born into a life that was heading in the wrong direction? Everything I do seems to be wrong. Everything I do turns out wrong. My life was going downhill fast. And when I was 20, I realized it was going to kill me. And I'm not just saying that. hip replacements as a teenager. I had the worst arthritis that my rheumatologist had ever seen.
This is her music.
Years of being a rheumatologist.
So she puts this in. She refuses to mic herself or shoot this in any nice professional way. But yet she wants to charge $600 for.
Where'd you go?
Stuff like
I can't wait to find out.
well long. Let's see her little Instagram story announcing the new Lions Lair group, because this is where she really communicates with most of her people. They've really latched on to her. You know, we've got a combination. You've got actual sick people. You've got people interested in the carnivore diet. You've got a ton of Jordan Peterson fans just interested in things she says. And you've got a lot of guys. Ooh, I've been studying Dr. Jordan Peterson's lectures for the last year. Ooh, he's got this daughter. Ooh, I could cuddle up to her. I could get close. Oh, when she goes live on Instagram, ooh, she reads my chats. She's got a love connection with a bunch of these boys. Now, let's watch her Instagram stories about this, announcing the new Lion's Lair. There she is, looking beautiful. Is this the full tape here? Let's see. The Lion's Lair. Let's start with Michael Galanis taped this from her Instagram story. Again, looking like Katie Segal. Let's hear.
Made a new club called the Lion's Lair.
Ooh, I made a new club called the Lion's Lair. She's good at this too. She knows doing this on Instagram stories gets people really hooked when she speaks to them through this
Direct
connection there. So watch this. She's all done up, ready to go to Barbarians Steakhouse. I like Barbarians in Toronto. Great logo. It's been there since 1953. Did you know that?
Well,
they got a great bone in here.
Okay, guys, I've made a new club called the Lion's Lair for people who really, really want to optimize their lives.
Ooh. So you've got the meat group, you've got your Instagram, you've got all these other things where we've been communicating with you and getting all the info. But now if you really, really want to optimize.
those were only people who really wanted to optimize.
But if you really, really want to optimize, we're going to need that 600.
Exactly.
This is really odd. What are we going to get for this 600? Let's find out here today.
It'll have direct access to me. I'll literally just be on my phone in that group. And I've been looking for something kind of like this because I've been trying to help people over Instagram and over Facebook, and it's really hard to connect. I get a whole bunch of DMs. I get emails from people who want.
So I really, really want to help people, but it's been so hard to connect because I get too many people. Now, why would a person like this have such a drive to need to connect personally with all these people? You see her do it all the time on Instagram. She's always showing people's personal progress photos. I was a big fat slob, and then I stopped eating all bread and sugar, and 1 year later, I'm thin. Bravo. Who would have thought? I don't know if necessarily the carnivore diet has anything to do with this, but cutting everything else out surely did. Now, I believe you can survive on just meat. I don't even think it's that crazy. I really don't. I believe, and she's doing it. I mean, she's obviously doing it. I don't think it's that crazy. People told me I was so crazy when I was doing it. I believe in it. I get it. I think it makes total sense. But what do you need to coach people through? The diet is just eat meat. There you go.
There's one rule.
The book should be 1 page long. There should be no price tag on this information. Eat meat, see how you feel. Let us know. There you go. There doesn't need to be a discussion about it daily. There doesn't need to be a sharing of information other than, am I alive? You know, I learned this from a dog. You've got to, when you get a dog, you realize how simple these beings are to keep alive. People always warn you, oh, a dog, it's a lot of commitment. No, it's not. You literally take the cheapest food ever, $1 a month worth of food, pour it into a bowl. If the dog eats that food, guess what? He lives to see the next day. And it's just dots. I look at my dog's food, it's just circles. And he's fine. What's in there? Believe me, it's not a nutritious blend. It's probably just meat scraps. Blend it up with some grain to fill it out. So now imagine taking away the grain and just eat the meat. There you go. You're fine. You really don't need much. I mean, there are a lot of people living without water. They're just drinking Cokes every day. I saw it. I saw my roommate in college. 2 years I lived with this guy. 1.5 years, 2 years. He did not have water once. I'm not kidding when I say this.
Jesus.
He drank only Coke. So obviously there's water in Coke or you buy. He was fine. I mean, he looked terrible. Really, like he looked like that kid who always pukes on the bus in The Simpsons. Remember that in The Simpsons? They had a kid. He always sat in the front of the bus. He was a nerd. He was puke. I called him Barf Bucket. I don't know if that's his name, but that's what my roommate looked like. He was pale white. He was from Alaska. He looked sick. You'd go into his room. You'd be blinded by the red, silvery lights of the Coke can glare. He'd keep all the cans. He never threw them away. 2 liters, Coke cans, long Cokes, short Cokes, big Cokes, Santa Cokes. And he was fine. So you could live off really anything. Just put something in your mouth daily. You'll be fine, I think, pretty much. All right. Let's hear her promises here today, as this gets a little sketchy.
Else from people who want to improve their lives and don't know how to get in touch with me. And
they know how to get in touch.
I don't have enough time to respond to all the emails
then don't
and the
respond.
DMs and everything. And I'm
then make a video. You know what I mean? So she's trying to set this up like, I want to help people, but only people that have $600. As if that's like an excuse to charge $600. It really doesn't add up.
really feeling like I'm missing out on a lot of people. Check it out. This is a group full of people who are really interested in optimizing their lives, meeting like-minded individuals. We're going to have twice yearly events that'll take place in wild places. I'm thinking Romania or Thailand or something crazy.
Oh my God. Wait, I didn't even hear that part. That's even crazier. Join the group today for only the low price of $5.99. You get nothing. You get access to me, Jordan Peterson's daughter. I'll give you tips from my bedroom about eat meat. That's it. And then we're going to have events yearly. I'm thinking wild places like Romania.
So you have to pay for your ticket to Romania.
So now I got to go to
also?
fucking Romania for what? To eat some weird cut of beef? Why would anyone want to go to Romania? And she spends a lot of time. 2 weeks out of the year, she'll be in Moscow. You go, what the fuck are you doing in Moscow? And then 3 weeks out of the year, I'm in Romania. Why? What is going on in all these odd countries? This is like Homeland. I think she's like the girl from Homeland, but we don't know she's CIA. She's got all these ops she's got to go to. You want to go to Romania? 600.
I want to change some of this online interaction that I've been having with people into actual real life interaction. And I've been missing the social connection that you get with actually talking to people. So I'm really looking forward to this group as a way to actually connect with people who really want to improve their lives, really want to change things, maybe need a support group, kind of like an external family.
Oh.
Priced it high enough to get rid of the trolls and
Priced it high enough to get rid of the trolls. So this is what she's saying. So what are the trolls? Well, a lot of you guys have infected this meat group by giving some bad faith, false information. So a lot of Redbar people, what they like to do, they'll go into the meat group and they'll be like, hey guys, just started the carnivore diet 2 days ago. I feel great now. I've been eating a lot of, and they'll make a joke.
Human flesh.
And they'll see who goes along with it, so they troll the meat group. She's going to use this price point as a reason. Now, why can't there be
people that are paying care about the trolls?
No,
also?
and it's like,
anyway, yeah. So Redbar is pretty funny. This one's especially funny. But what you guys do? How's everyone's week?
I'm doing all right. I've got I think 3 interviews pretty solidly set up. I'll be making some decision really soon and headed back to Korea by mid-February.
Dope.
I got all my my immigration documents in hand, so
interesting.
I told the recruiter to turn down a couple of situations because I knew the salary was going to be out of range, and But probably in the next week or two, I'll know what my situation is going to be, and that'll be nice. I spend enough time here in the U.S. It's time to get back to my real home.
Yeah.
Be able to actually get around well without a car, and be earning some steady money.
Yeah, that's always nice. Yeah, it's pretty cool being mainly like bike people most of the time these days. The whole summer we were in Santa Cruz, and I rode my bike the whole time, pretty much 99% of the time. It's interesting. It's fun getting like I don't know, you spend a lot less money.
Yeah. I've also been I've been waking up about 7 a.m. The short days, the short daylight really messes me up. So a couple of weeks ago, I was staying up all through the night and sleeping through the day. Like my body with the short daylight in winter goes on like a 25 hour, 26 hour cycle. But I came all the way through it. I went through that full cycle, and now I'm on the part of the cycle where I'm acting like a quote unquote morning person. You know, and
Sunlight brings back to life.
Yeah, you know, my family's like, "Wow, you're like waking up in the morning." Like it's an act of discipline, an act of accomplishment. No, it's just the cycle that's longer than 24 hours, you know, continuing. But when springtime comes, then I'll start being able to, you know, I'll be out walking a lot throughout the day normally, and my body will go back to a 24-hour schedule.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of what's up?
What are you up to?
Not much. I got a little bit of a confession to make, because I'm even though I try to eat really healthy, like I am not nearly as active as like anybody like in the group. So I'm trying to get back into like getting some kind of regular exercise regimen going, because I've been like glued to my computer with that little side group thing I was telling you about. Like it's turned into a whole I almost want to say like Plato's Cave kind of deal, where I'm like, oh, I hear about all these things that are going on out in the world, and I'm like stuck to my computer, like, oh, I gotta respond to this email. Like I'm getting to that point where I need like a serious like cycle reset right now. I'm trying to get into like meditating and stuff. And especially with winter ending, like in Washington, like I don't know, when the sun starts going down, you know, winter starts coming, it gets rough. Like I am heavily affected by the whole, you know, circadian rhythm getting thrown off.
Yeah, I mean, even like we haven't been out in the sun for like the last it rained like crazy. There was a big storm in California, and we've been having to like go outside and take our shirts off and get the sun, like, because it's just been like hard in the winter. It's just cold out, and you just want to stay home and not doing anything.
Yeah. You know what, man? You guys in SoCal, you've been getting more rain, more clouds, somewhat colder. But up here,
a couple months ago, we had more rainfall in California than the rest of the world combined.
Yeah,
wow.
But
it was
wild.
Up
here in the Sierras this year, the El Nino pattern has meant that we haven't gotten snow at all, and the last 2 years there's been heavy snowfall. So it shifts everything southward, and then we have up here in my hometown we have the milder winter.
Yeah, the last couple winters have been nuts. And we go gold prospecting a lot, and so it's been really good. All the rivers got washed out, and there's like new gold everywhere. But yeah, it's kind of funny how, at least in California, it will lull we'll have a couple like boring winters. Well, we'll just get a couple rains and then it'll just the next winter it'll be like it's almost like it's piled up over the years of not being crazy, and then it'll come down. This last storm, I don't know if you guys saw the footage of like Cali getting battered, giant like 40-foot waves and stuff hitting the coast and washing houses out and all kinds of stuff. And then I know there's been like earthquakes and volcanoes erupting all around the world the other day when Japan had that earthquake. At the same time, there's like all these other earthquakes and all these other volcanoes and stuff going on. So there's obviously, whoever the people are that control all that stuff are getting active again.
Yeah.
Yahweh is mad that too many people are going vegan.
Yeah.
Gotta get those blood sacrifices going again.
Yeah.
Dude, we I don't know, here in Washington, we get hit pretty hard with like I don't want to like get too out there conspiracy theory type stuff, but like we do.
That's what the show's for, bro.
All right, perfect. Yeah, because we get like cloud seeding all the time. I'll see just like trails. I'm like, oh, they're at it again, and then you'll just see like it just dissipates out, and then all of a sudden we have a like foggy, cloudy day, and then we get hit with like a snowstorm. But no, the last couple of years they've been really bad. Like we'd get like when you go out to shovel. It was literally, we were making a berm that was like probably almost 10 feet tall at one point, just having to like shovel out the driveway, throw it all the way up. I was getting some good exercise during that, but it can be rough, but it's like nothing this year. Kind of weird.
Yeah. This next one seems like it's going to be bad. But it hasn't been so far. I mean, outside of that last storm. But yeah. So I'm trying to find. I want to start going over. I want to pick like a I want to pick one of the things off my Facebook to talk about on the show and to do a deep dive on something. Something a Meatard has said that's completely ridiculous. That is like one of the things that we hear over and over and over again.
They're pretty easy to come by.
Yeah, especially on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we're gonna go over. So this guy has been he said that he was posting about okay, so his argument is that because he gets his meat from a farmer, that somehow none of the subsidies he's not responsible for the subsidies. That doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with anything like that because he didn't pay taxes basically to the farmer. I think that's what he's trying to say, because he's like, oh, no taxation, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you're not listening. Like, like the cow, because the subsidies have been around. Like it's this idea. You think because animal husbandry has been around forever. Somehow that's therefore an argument that destroys the fact that there are subsidies now. I understand back in the day, someone might have a cow. We're talking about factory farming for billions of people these days. So it's like not at all the same argument. Yeah. But the subsidies paid for the science that genetically changed that cow into what it is today from a bovine. The cow's existence has been subsidized. The food that you can't find. I mean, the food that the corn and the soy that it eats, that's been subsidized. The farmers get subsidized. So it's like there's no
right.
Kind of cutting out now.
Jeffrey's cutting out, but I'll just say, all of that Jeffrey just said is true, but also when any product or service is subsidized, even those providers who are not directly subsidized, the subsidy is going to produce a decrease in the market price which is gonna obviously affect the price that anybody providing any sort of substitute good, any sort of equivalent good is going to be able to provide. So if you were to say, subsidize 90% of the apple growers, then the 10% of apple growers who didn't receive that subsidy would still have to lower their price. Right? That intervention would artificially reduce the market price for apples. So even somebody who was buying apples from the 10% of growers that didn't directly receive that subsidy would still be benefiting as a consumer, paying a lower price for apples as a result of the subsidy for 90% of the apple growers. That's the situation with animal products. You can't think about the economic effect of a subsidy just in this like linear personal terms of which seller you're buying from. The subsidy affects the entire market for that for that type of good or service.
Yeah, like dairy, they have so much excess that they can't even sell off everything that they produce, even if they're selling it at such a high discount. Kind of shows that there's a little bit of a problem with the spending.
Yeah, I don't know if I've
reverse incentive. It's meaningless. It just creates waste. But this is the thing with chickens also, like the whole idea of, okay, is it vegan to just have your own chicken and eat the eggs, or buy from someone who just has a happy chicken living in the backyard? It's like, okay, well, the whole idea is the money you put into buying those eggs are still propping up this industry that breeds these animals who are completely unnatural or deformed and don't live really great lives because they're made to make eggs or whatever. You're still contributing to that industry where you may not be directly buying from the sub. You've
isolated yourself one step away from complete mainstream. You aren't really doing much.
It's not directly supporting, but it's still supporting the entire industry.
I don't know if I've told this story, but when I was eating pretty much paleo, I had goats and chickens, and they were insanely expensive to keep alive. And that was like my first oh wow, so it kind of got me thinking. And then it was like, the more I learned about subsidies and economics and stuff, I was like, oh well, okay, that's exactly how it is. It's definitely economically insane to spend that much money on an animal just to cut it up into 40 pounds of meat that has a market value of very little.
And they're too big to fail.
Yeah, you've spent far more feeding that animal than you'd ever get from the meat. So it's like, inefficient.
That's why I'm an ethical consequentialist. I argue about this a lot. The hypotheticals, whether for a non-human animal or a human animal, what if some non-humans or humans were brought into existence and given an extremely happy life, wonderful conditions, raised up until a point where they were then totally painlessly killed and then used for the commodity of their meat or whatever. And then the consequentialist says, well, that seems like that would be a positive then. That would be good for the world. But it's so frustrating because, Jeffrey, based upon what you just mentioned, how the hell would that ever exist in reality? That's so enormously economically efficient. Nobody is ever gonna do that.
So how would it possibly be our natural diet?
Yeah. And anybody who is ever going to bring a being into existence with the primary purpose of using them as a commodity is not gonna bear the expense of giving them a net happy life.
Yeah. It's a good argument to get.
Absolutely not. Yeah, that's completely ridiculous. If you have any experience with what it costs to have a child, to be a parent and have a child,
it's the same thing.
Actually care about keeping that child happy.
Yeah, and
it's the most expensive thing that anybody ever does, right?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and it's a good argument because you, especially with all these libertarians that are supposed to be so fiscally conservative and all this stuff, and it's like, there's this, a bunch of these libertarian types that are popular, and they're like doing the keto thing, and I'm like, wait a minute here, and they don't like hearing this because it's not something that they've had presented to them, because they're all, oh shit, I am doubling down on the most incentivized food that we have access to, but they don't seem to care. And it's like, okay, so you're not being, you're not being consistent with your beliefs then. And
also, that's the major point what you just raised, but also these people that are all about entrepreneurs, innovating, making the world a better place. Well, that's fucking beyond and impossible and Guardian and daring. I mean, that's what that is right there.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, using their intelligence and making something new to compete on a market against these ancient, barbaric, heavily government subsidized, animal murder.
Think about
industries.
So think about you're the head of like big meat, right? And like you're the whole industry's barely teetering on collapse, because like it costs so much to produce this, and they sell it so cheap, and it's so, it's been so, and then the last 10 years meat eating has dropped off. So that really is scary to the people that are in charge of that industry. Therefore, they've put trillions into all these carnivore doctors and, Dr. Bakers and all these dudes on YouTube. They put all this money into these guys to try and promote this insane diet that we all know is wrong. But guess what? They're going to sell more meat, and they're going to have more people, because the people that own all these big corporations own all the hospitals and shit too. So they're going to have all these new, they don't want us to be healthy. They don't make money off us being healthy. They make money off of, people going in and having back bypass surgery and spending, basically working their whole life to save up this money, to then give it to the hospital, to buy a couple more years of life, instead of just eating and being healthy and staying active and being in your prime longer, versus, spending 10 years in a hospital gurney or something like that. It's just, it's wild.
So I was kind of wondering with the, remember I was kind of sending you a couple things about like life insurance. I had like stumbled upon a weird little like rabbit hole of like right when COVID started, there was a lot more awareness on the fact that like whole food, plant-based, vegan diets could lead to a lot of health benefits and keep you from having to be in that cycle of like going in for regular visits and just being put on pills, all the bad recommendations. Well, there were some life insurance companies that were actually starting to take note of that, and they were giving people pretty steep discounts on their payments. And all of a sudden, when you go back to look, like, because I was finding mentions of it in different articles, like vegan-centric websites, and I'd start clicking on the links to see what these policies were, and they were all like 404. The page just kind of disappeared. So it's kind of suspicious. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's kind of suspicious that, keto and carnivore and all this stuff has been getting a lot more popular. And now like every doctor out there that wants to gain some credibility or, jump onto the fad, they're pushing this now, this really destructive diet. I wouldn't be surprised to see, things have kind of reversed. So maybe now they're going to be like, oh, well, if you're on the keto or the carnivore diet, like we'll give you a discount now. Like, it's just really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like it's weird because like as a movement, like the whole like vegan movement, around the time when I first went vegan, like we were talking about this last time, but like 2015, 2017, that was when we were getting a lot of documentaries that were coming out, and like, you had like Joe Rogan talking to like carnivore and keto doctors, and I don't know, just in the last couple of years since Joe Rogan and everybody else has been pushing carnivore, like it's completely flipped. Like conversations completely changed. It's weird.
Well, remember, it wasn't even that long ago. Dr. Baker was on Rogan, and we were like laughing. We're like, "Look at this psycho! Like, could you imagine eating all and like being all blown away by some crazy dude?" And you see him and is like you could tell he's on steroids too, because like you can see that shit a mile away. So it's like. That was shocking not a few years ago. Now it's like completely mainstream.
Mm-hmm. Now
and it's this whole processed foods are bad, vegetables are bad, gluten is bad. Like it's all these things, and it's turning out that as time goes by and there's more research done on these things, they're finding out this is all bullshit. Like, and that's why I wanted to talk about like GMOs and processed foods, and like are they as bad as the meat industry or this like new carnivore industry? That's all they point at, the seed oils and all that stuff.
Or the Beyond Burger, Impossible Burger. I'm seeing because the term processed food is so
vague,
broad and vague. So it allows these marketers and marketing companies to be able to throw them onto products or whatever movements. So it's like I'm seeing the rhetoric is going towards, okay, processed foods are bad. What are processed foods? Vegan, fake meat. And what is veganism? Only eating those things. Therefore, veganism is bad and unhealthy, which it's full of fallacies and just false correlations. And again, it's using terms that are so vague that they really like what does it actually mean, a processed food? I mean, once you grind something up, it's technically
once
processed.
You're chewing it, it's processed.
On what part of the scale of processing is it turn bad?
Our bodies are food processors. So like
there was a statement released by the Beyond company recently that explained that their products, their vegan meat alternatives are no more processed than pasta is.
That's funny.
And just the way that like wheat and you add some vitamins to it to get the typical macaroni that anybody eats, right?
Well, it's processed to make it absorb into our body a bit more efficiently, like
there's a degree of that too. Yeah, exactly.
Like, so why aren't you taking that into consideration?
There's pastas too that like whole wheat, whole grain, or even if there's those alternative pastas like you can get like chickpea pasta and all the like lentils, and like if you look at the nutrition label, there's still a lot of like dietary fiber that's in it. So you can do that whole like you keep it within like a 5 carb to 1 gram of fiber ratio, and that's still, it's considered like a green light food where your body's gonna like digest it properly. You're not gonna have any blood sugar spikes. So like processed, it kind of it's a little too vague, like because there's so much nuance to it. You have to pick apart each instance. Like Oreos, those are terrible for you. There's no fiber. It's like saturated fat mixed with, it's like palm oil. That's bad for the orangutans and all that kind of stuff.
Not necessarily it being processed, which makes it bad. It's
the
ingredients.
The quality.
It's the ingredients,
Yeah, the quality of the ingredients.
I mean, is it bad? Is it bad that 100 years ago, vitamin D started being added to bread and iodine added to table salt?
Probably not.
These additional processing steps that it saved so many people from
it covers a baseline
nutrient deficiencies
that which we didn't have or didn't know that we had, and people would die of stupid reasons of like, not enough iodine or whatever, deficiencies.
Well, and iodine, that's one too that like you know,
I was surprised about iodine.
Well, people say that, you know, like milk, you know, it's a good source of iodine, but then you come to find out the only reason it is that way is because there's like a process when it's like going through about to be bottled. They like clean the dispensers with like an iodine formula, and so it like creeps in. If anything, it almost seems unsanitary that, you know, you're getting like byproducts added to your milk. But I mean, they see it as supplementation, and I mean it works, but it's not to say that, you know, an omnivorous diet is really good for iodine. It's kind of another one of those nuanced issues.
Yeah, everybody needs iodine. But
gotta start getting
you Westerners need to be eating more sea vegetables.
I agree.
More nori.
So, yeah, it's hard to get a hold of though. It's so expensive.
Then you gotta watch out for like radiation and lead and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's
like,
other contaminants that run with it.
Yeah, I'm always like I scan everything that I get. I'm like looking over. I'm like, okay, is there a P65? You know, like Prop 65 warning for like cancer? And I'm like, is it something that I can actually like counteract? Like, is it bad or like I always kind of like weighing things in my head. Like I know heavy metals, for instance, you can. I wouldn't recommend eating stuff that has like a bunch of lead or arsenic or anything like that in it. But like Dr. Greger put up, he made a video a while back saying that like cilantro is a really good detoxifier of heavy metals. And so like me being really into hot sauce and never knowing if there's, you know, kind of questionable amounts of lead, that's an issue, I guess, down in Mexico. A lot of the peppers will have like lead in the soil.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah. So like, I was a little concerned about them. I'm like, well, it's a good thing I love cilantro then, because I'll just, you know, whip up a little extra cilantro on my Mexican food. Perfect. I don't know how effective that is, though. Still a little careful.
The placebo effect is also very strong. So the fact that you believe that it's working will probably have some effect at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have to kind of get into training my brain a little bit to snap myself out of a little bit of a nocebo thing, because I've been let down by a lot of supplements in the past. So I'm like, I do get a little skeptical sometimes. I'm like, man, I gotta just believe. I gotta believe.
Yeah, just throw a little belief in there when you swallow it.
Yeah, treat everything like it's magic.
Yeah. It's a very powerful effect, though. At least the studies they've done, it's pretty wild. What was I just reading? I was looking into studies and they found, it was gluten intolerance.
Yeah, this is what I wanted you to talk about.
Studies about gluten intolerance showing that it's by like basically giving people like placebos or people believing that they were eating gluten. People who have kind of self-declared gluten intolerance, they were affected as if they had gluten, but they actually weren't eating gluten. And then vice versa, they were given a food that they believed didn't contain gluten, but it did, and they didn't have these flare-ups or these supposed effects of gluten intolerance. So that's really pretty significant in my opinion.
And that's
weird area of science.
Yeah.
That's what they're finding out about the keto and carnivore diet too. They're doing all these blind studies, and people are like completely.
It's gotta be,
Like,
I mean, you're
it's
just like
complete bullshit.
so excited. Yeah, you're doing something new. You're
in a group. Everyone's supporting each other. All these cool celebrities are doing it. All these athletes, you know.
Yeah, everybody can finally agree on something until you get those pesky vegans. That's always the problem. Like we're always the buzzkill of like, well, actually, it's not that good. Maybe.
Like, no, so much weight.
Yeah. There's so many people that, I mean, when you like that whole sovereign state national sort of movement, there's a lot of people that are really into that too. And I don't know, like it's really annoying because you got to pick your battles, because sometimes you're just like, I don't want to like cause a whole bunch of drama here because you guys seem to be having fun, but when people start giving out that health advice and you're like, yeah, man, pushing me. About to have to burst everybody's balloon here.
No, it's major groupthink, and it's clearly marketing as a result of people becoming more healthy, and too many of the powers that be losing money because of it.
Yeah.
Or those industries are like, hey, like again, like the marketers, the marketing companies are like, what can we do? How do we make these products cool and hip again. Like, you know, how do we get people to buy them?
Yeah.
Bad diet.
Yeah. How do you market something that everybody's been eating since they were children anyway? You know, with like keto and carnivore. It's like let's take away all the other stuff and make it novel again. Like.
And you could see the guys in the boardroom being like, all right, oh shit, we're losing money. You know, like, what do we do? How do we convince these people to eat more meat when they're eating less meat? Oh, just tell them to eat meat all the time. You know, like, let's just pay some guys that are buff to tell everyone to eat meat all the time. Yeah. And then
we don't have to treat them for steroids.
All these new heart disease patients, all these young dudes with money dying, you know, or like ending up in the hospital needing, you know, who knows what problems, heart transplants, bypasses and shit like that. Yikes.
Yeah. Dude, I'm trying to find, it's really hard to find. I don't know if I have some kind of like a memory thing where maybe I remembered it incorrectly or if it just got scrubbed from the internet. But that Dr. Joel Kahn, he actually did, he did a debate with, was that Chris Kresser or one of those, you know, back in like 2016, one of the big names. Yeah, he got into he went on to Joe Rogan and do a debate with him. And I found a video from him a while back that was like, he was talking about how he's a heart surgeon and he was literally he was pulling out ropes of cholesterol from people's hearts when he was doing heart surgeries. And he was trying to use that as an example to tell people like, this is what happens when you go on these like fad diets. But I like cannot find that video. Like it's kind of gruesome. I remember seeing like the cholesterol coming out of like the, you know, in surgery, but
it was Rogan.
Well, I don't think it was from that, but he was on. Yeah, Joel Kahn. He had like a little debate thing with it's either Chris Kresser or one of those.
You hit him up directly and just ask.
That's true. I forget that people are actually a lot more like able to be reached on the internet.
Yeah, they really are. You'd be surprised.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I might have to ask him for some gnarly footage then, so I can make my visceral point that I want to make to people.
Yeah,
it'd be worth it.
It was pretty. Have you seen the video of the guy from? I think we talked about this last week. That debate was Kresser on Rogan versus the guy who did the Game Changers.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
Yeah, he stole that.
I saw that only recently, and I was all, holy crap! Like,
yeah, I think I watched it live, but I just watched like little recap video. I think that Red Pill Vegan dude on YouTube.
Dr. Avi prepped him for that.
Oh yeah, well he did some good work because he was just getting stomped through that whole debate. Like, I still haven't seen that Game Changers.
Kresser was just like getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
All those dudes are juiced up. They all look the same in the face. It's all like red and
puffy,
veiny and shit. Yeah, like it's funny. Like Baker, all those dudes. And it's funny, when I had like a debate with that Joey Schwartz kid. And I was like, because we were trying to like debate. And I was like, all right, maybe we need to like agree. We needed to agree on what it meant to be healthy. So I was like, tell me, you know, who someone you think is healthy. And he's all, no, I can't. And I was like, what do you mean you can't? Like, you worship all these guys, you know, because he knew he had just done it. He just did a debate with Durian Rider, and Durian Rider was like, dude, like called him out for all those dudes being on steroids. So like he knew I was buddies with Durian Rider. So it was like, he was like, this guy's going to bust me on this point again.
Yeah. You don't see many of these guys who are 60 years old, do you? Like, there's a lot of
bodybuilders aren't like walking around with like old giant gray beards and shit at 80, 90 years old. You know,
there's quite a few 60-year-old vegans who are running ultra marathons and you know, surfing and shit.
Champions of ultra marathons in their 60s.
There's not, and you know, playing basketball. I don't think there are any 60-year-old, you know, carnivore diet people, because they'd all be fucking on tons of statins and in the hospital with heart disease.
They get hidden from the public. They just put throw a blanket over them and take them away. They're like, no, we can't use you anymore. You're like falling apart. We can't have that.
Yeah, it's like these people are just like pretending that they're never gonna age, that their life isn't about, a complete lifespan.
I have a reaction video I did to a guy that was a carnivore diet guy who was like in tears doing a video being like, man, I just got back from the doctor. He's very scared. He's like, you're gonna die, and he's like, I really like the whole community and everything, but like, you guys are so mean, and like, I've been just being honest, and like, people are tearing him apart, being like, oh, your LDL fine, but it was like through the roof, and it's all has all these freaking bro science Rogan worshippers screaming at him, that he's going to be fine, that he should just keep doing the diet. And he's like, I don't know. I don't want to fucking die. Like, dude was like in tears because of how this cult is, and how they treat people that like do videos, that anyone who says anything, they gang up on them, and it's nuts.
Yeah. We should camp with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What's that?
We should acknowledge that, doctors aren't, we know most doctors.
They don't live as long as the general public, so they probably aren't the people we should be taking health advice from.
Doctors aren't entirely our enemy. Doctors, most of them don't understand the ethics of veganism, and they have their own habits and biases, and they're not particularly trained in the science of nutrition.
They get less than 24 hours of nutritional education throughout their entire education.
We have problems with doctors in that respect, but also, the vast majority of doctors, if they look at the blood work of somebody who's been on a carnivore diet for a year, they're not entirely on the other side either. Like they're not going to tell that carnivore dieter like your insanely high cholesterol and blood pressure is great.
Yeah.
And all of that. Yeah.
It's funny watching the videos of the carnivore people looking at their blood work, and they're just like, I'm not worried about the LDL, like
it's becoming a trend to where like people are, making it sound like that's normal. That like, I don't know how true this is. I didn't see the full paper, but Mike the Vegan did a video talking about how something about like he was debunking or the myth of cholesterol being bad, like LDL cholesterol being bad for you being debunked.
Yeah.
And he was saying something about like there's people apparently getting up to like close to 1,000 in their levels or something like that. I'm like, I really hope that's not the case. Like, Jesus. I don't know. It's alarming that people are just being taught that, just don't pay attention to any of that. It's actually good.
The diet kills your cardio, so you don't even have the ability to go work all that shit off.
Yeah, you're gonna be stuck in a hospital bed fasting or something. Like, it's gonna be that option.
There's that guy, David Champion. He's always posting his macros, and it's like 800 grams of protein, like 18 carbs, and like how much? Oh, it was like just insane fat, like insane daily stuff. And the dude, and he's like, I don't even work out. And it's like, dude, and he's like, look at all this weight I've lost. And it's like, yeah, you lost some weight, but you're still fat. Like, you're still a fat guy, like. Like, you lost a little weight. Yeah, you lost all your muscle glycogen, which you need in order to keep yourself healthy. Like, you're just sacrificing it. And all these dudes are like, oh, well, I lost weight and I'm ripped now. And it's like, well, go try and run around the block.
That is true.
And a lot of them don't even, like, oh, well, I don't need to have good cardio. Like, oh, okay. But you need to be able to lift heavy shit. You need huge muscles from lifting fucking weights, right? You need that in your daily life. And you need, how much of your resources you have to put into like eating enough to maintain that shit. Like, it's pointless. And then you're injuring yourself. But we've been trained to think that bodybuilders are healthy and being buff is healthy, and it's absolutely not true. Like dudes every day, like, look at my abs, dude, I'm fucking ripped. That doesn't mean you're gonna live past 50. You know, like, are you crazy? It's
well, and two, there's like this is kind of an out there sort of subject, but like I've seen people, you know, who do like yoga that can like one video that comes to mind was like a guy who was like had a woman on her, like, you know, standing with one foot, he's like lifting her up over his head. It's like, okay, that's a pretty, you know, good example of he's not out there hitting the gym like just, you know, pumping iron all day, and he's still got pretty good muscle, you know, control.
Yeah, it's just, well, obviously, you know, as we know, as like endurance cyclists, like it's all about power to weight, and being lean is most likely the most efficient human, you know, like body type is being lean and not having too much fat or too much muscle. All this muscle stuff, talk about unnatural. These guys want to say all the vegan stuff is unnatural. Like having enough protein to get that size, like it's there's no point for that unless you're, you know, like you don't see bodybuilders rock climbing being professional rock climbers, you know, like
they're not buff from their diet. Like,
yeah,
that's the
it's
main
all steroids.
thing. That's the main lie. All the influencers, especially the keto, the carnivore ones, they're buff people, dudes and chicks who are on steroids, and that's fine, but they're deceptive because they're selling their program, the diet, whatever, as being producing those results.
Liver King, you know,
BS. Yeah.
We were calling out Liver King the whole time, and then it happened, and I was just like,
people. Yeah, there are people who actually did defend. Like it's pretty much a meme, and kind of like always was, and it is like the
defending
most extreme
Liver
example
King.
of like caricature of like a dumb carnivore person. But yeah, people defended him. They're like,
and I want to say, guys, that, you know, I'm not an endurance athlete. I've never been an endurance athlete, but you know, to me, it's about, you know, being able to do highly physical chores, get around wherever I'm going without a car, you know,
not hurt yourself,
mostly without public transportation. And not have inflammation most of the time, not very rarely be sick or feel under the weather.
Yeah, quality of life, high quality of life for as long as possible. That's kind of like a pretty basic metric to, you know.
And that's not like that's not exceptionally facilitated by looking ripped.
Yeah,
like I would if I lived at the gym and did steroids. I don't know how that would help me, like you know, fell trees and split firewood and you know, fix the roof and all the other things that I've done, you know, while I'm here in my hometown, and then, you know, I've been car free for most of my life. Most of the time relying on walking and biking, you know. I'm not an endurance cyclist, but you know,
you're a commuter.
I'm a commuter, and I like backpacking and hiking. I can carry a heavy pack. You know, who cares if I don't look ripped? I can fucking carry a 60-pound pack,
man,
out. You know, to set up camp. You know, and then not feel terrible afterwards. And my diet is not, you know, it's not giving me a lot of inflammation. So
yeah, I'm not the most like active person in general, but like when I do have to really exert myself, like the times that I have had to shovel a lot of snow, like talking, I don't know, probably like thousands of pounds of snow sometimes, you know, collective, you know, all together. But like I would be wrecked the next day for a little bit. I could still do things, but like the day after that, I'm pretty much back to normal. So like the recovery time for, you know, just eating the right things, as far as like functionality goes, it's one of the best diets for it.
Her buddy Louis is vegan, and he crashed his bike and cut his throat.
Ugh.
Right across here,
hit the guardrail,
like through the like into the muscle. And I swear to you, dude, 5 days, 6 days later, it was completely healed. Like,
wow.
Yeah, stitches removed in 7 days.
She broke her clavicle riding, and it healed in upper percentile time. The doctor said, like, they're like, oh, that's like faster than almost everyone.
He said, yeah, an exceptional healing time. And then, like, silently in my head, I'm like, yeah, vegan power, but I didn't say anything. You didn't
They
know.
say vegans have weak bones. What about this?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it was like total, like, oh, when vegans, doctor just said, like, normal doctor.
Like, you gotta think, like, all the powers that be don't want us living long, healthy lives. It's the complete opposite of what they want. They want us living short, unhealthy lives where we're in the doctors, hooked up to all the pharmaceutical stuff.
Well, long unhealthy lives. That's the most profit for them, is long unhealthy lives, right?
Yeah, exactly. They want the relief
alive.
from the ailments to come from them only, rather than healthier lifestyle, diet, et cetera.
Yeah, because they got pills to fix that stuff.
Yeah, they get a nice kickback from the pharmaceutical companies, so that always provides a little incentive.
Yeah, that's why, like, all these doctors, again, like,
yeah,
they're all on steroids anyway. So it's like any of these dudes, because they're
it's like TRT.
Yeah,
right?
they're at least, all older doctors. They're all on that stuff because it's available to them, and they prescribe it, and their buddies prescribe it, and like, that's just what you do. But yeah, they're the last people we need to be listening to.
Yeah, I had one good doctor, like, probably 7 or so years ago. She wasn't fully vegan herself, but she'd been in her spare time, she actually looked into a lot of studies. She'd read a couple books. I actually have one that I got on her recommendation, even though I knew a lot of the stuff that the book was about. She was like, yeah, this book, like, pushed me to want to actually go vegan. And, like, so we were kind of in the same, we had a mutual understanding that, like, this is healthy. So, you've done my blood levels. You've shown that, or she even pointed out they were some of the best results she'd seen. And so I was like, yeah, obviously we're doing something right. I mean, yeah.
Can I ask you guys here, I'm primarily like an amateur ethical philosopher, right? And then I also have my life and my my health observations and my personal experiences. But should we be suspicious that what seems to be the most ethical lifestyle happens to correspond with ideal health results? I mean, how much does that strike you as like overly convenient, and maybe we're making a mistake about one or the other?
Well, I've had to confront this. Like, I mean, even like you look at, is it the China study or looking into blue zones, right? Like, even, okay, like looking at the Okinawans, like they were not 100% vegan. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think for the health stuff, it's like almost there as far as veganism, but not quite. Like, I think, sure, someone could have realistically a small amount of animal products, but mostly plants, healthy, all the things we know, and still be, thrive. But I think that last little bit is the moral, the ideological, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what takes us there to veganism. And I've definitely, because I've thought about that too. I'm like, okay, like, I think vegans should do that, because that's how, we don't want to get caught up in echo chambers and just look at studies that only go in our direction. We want to have an objective view on things. And I think that's kind of where I sit with that. But I know what you mean, where it's like, yeah, I think it's important to always always check ourselves and make sure that we're not, leaning. It's important to separate the health aspect and looking at things scientifically, objectively, and our ideological beliefs and moral beliefs, basically, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
it's Ellie's birthday. Happy birthday to you.
No.
You're 21, so you can gamble now.
Yeah, I like that. We'll go with that.
Ooh, speaking of which, I went to a casino recently, and I don't like it.
Oh, they're terrible.
I
Dude, they just reek
Oh,
of cigarettes, and like if you put money into a pop machine, it's just like doop, doop, doop. Okay, it's all gone. Like it's kind of depressing. I was not having fun.
it's
I
way
think
better.
I mentioned this
way
on
better
one
doing
of our,
crypto.
I mentioned this
true.
in one of our previous streams, but I used to play poker pretty seriously. Like just before I went to Korea, I was really studying poker and playing it hard and somewhat online, but also live. And then I had to give it up because I couldn't deal with the ethics. Because what you really come to see as the good table that you ought to be at is the one with the people who are making terrible decisions because
Yeah.
they're
destroying them.
They're horrible gambling addicts.
Yeah,
And
right.
and they're just spewing their money. But if you're playing it seriously as a source of income, which by the way, it isn't a large amount of income. It's like rather than do some minimum wage job, I'm gonna play poker and I'm gonna focus on it and I'm gonna make like $15 an hour. It's like it's like great. But that's what I was doing, and I was making, on average about $15 an hour, and meanwhile, thinking like a shark and destroying people who were, collecting, like older people who were collecting their pension and then just losing it all. And it's a horrible way to spend your life if you have any shred of human empathy.
Yeah. You're like checking in with yourself. You're like, man.
Poker's different, but the casino is just there to take your money. Like it's literally they've convinced tourists to come and just flush their money down the toilet. It's pretty wild.
And they get you because sometimes they'll make like $300, $500 in a night, like one time, and then you try to go back and repeat that, or you play it all down.
Yeah, your
The
system
classic blunder.
You got your roulette system, right?
Yeah, I got this figured out. Even on like slots, I'll
You don't understand. Always bet on 22, man. 22 always. Like that's my system. Okay.
Yeah, but slots are one of the easiest ones to get hooked on though, because like you can sit there and it's like just a little screen where you just see things just rolling and rolling, and then every once in a while you get that good hit and you're like, okay, well, if you play down to only having like a few bucks or something, you're like, okay, here's like a 6-cent bet. And then all of a sudden you have $3 and you're like, oh man, I think I can do something with this. It like really messes with your like head when you get too involved in that.
There has to be some psychological thing they have down of like, pulling the thing and seeing the thing spin. I'm just saying, like, it's just like some human, they figured out like, we're attracted to it for some reason. Like, who knows?
I can tell you're not a gambler. It's good that you're not a gambler, but nobody pulls like this anymore. That's too much effort. People do this.
Yeah.
That's why, like,
see, that sucks.
I see people doing lottery, and I'm like, dude, you should do crypto. Like, none of these other things, you lose your money. Crypto, you're guaranteed your money back. Like, you're not, most likely at least, but
smoke at home on your laptop and just build your crypto bags.
Yeah. Stacking sats. It's all about stacking sats instead of going to the traditional ways of possibly making a little bit money fast, which are extremely high risk these days. When you have cryptocurrency, it's completely balanced. Change the balance of all that risk reward stuff. What were we talking about? Slot machines.
Yeah, slot
gambling.
Dude, they had one that like it was the most devastating thing that you could do with your money, because it's just a huge screen, and there's these little like gift box things on the screen. You can actually touch it like a tablet, and what it does is like each one is like 60 cents or $2.40, but it just says like 60 or 240, like you're just tapping boxes with numbers. And sometimes you get money to come out of it, but you're basically sitting there, tap, tap, tap. Like you can go as fast as you want, just watching all your money just disappear. Oh, that was like, that's like peak horrible gambling.
I was in Vegas once for a weekend with a bunch of friends, and we were leaving. And at State Line, there was like, you could go in and get like a big breakfast for like $2.50. And we were all like hungover, and we stopped. And as I was leaving, I had 50 cents left. And I put them in a machine and got $900.
Oh man. That's
it just went. It just went. It was an empty place. You know, I don't know, because I know they have like, they legally have to pay out a certain amount of money per hour. So it's like,
well, if it was empty, you were like, have a bigger.
Yeah. If there's not a lot of people there, you kind of have better odds. But it was weird.
You're like, actually, gambling's awesome.
Yeah.
I recommend everyone gamble.
Pick the right times. You got people probably like feeding to find this place now.
You know what? I don't like exploiting people at poker, even though poker is an amazing strategic game, and I don't like slots. The existence of the gambling industry, but people should when people make claims about probability, they should be willing to put their money where their mouth is. You know, if somebody says like, there's no way Biden's going to win the next election, then okay, you should fucking be willing to like bet me at 10-1, you know. I'll pay you $100 if Biden loses, and you pay me $1,000 if Biden wins. You should be able to lay down your money if that's the kind of claim that you're going to make, right?
Yeah, most people won't though.
Right. It's a bullshit test. It's the tried and true bullshit test is will you state the odds that you're claiming, and will you actually lay down real money?
Well, that reminds me of there's this one dude on YouTube. He's kind of like a controversial channel, I guess. It's that, not gonna say his name, but it's like gematria, the whole numbers and words and all that stuff. I've never gotten too deep into that, but this guy's stuff was interesting. Like there were some interesting little coincidences from it. But he had this thing where he would do he would make calls on like sports betting. So he would like look at events that were going on in the news, and he would like considerations of like players, their numbers, some of their like stats, and like historically like who's gone to the Super Bowl and all this kind of stuff. And he was actually he actually had a pretty good record for calling things properly, and it started making me kind of suspicious. It's like, I know that organized sports might be kind of fixed in some ways, but it was weird seeing these little coincidences, him just using numbers and history and stats and actually making good calls. It was
weird.
Really strange. We don't have online legal gambling here, which was kind of good, because I was thinking about it. I was like, let's test and see, like just throw like $40 at it and see what happens with it. But yeah, online gambling is illegal in Washington, so I couldn't even make an account if I wanted.
It'd be kind of nice on like a personal level if somebody was like, just within your family, like, man, it's gonna snow tomorrow, and then then your family member goes, no, it isn't, and you'd be like, okay, what are your odds? 2-1. Okay. If it snows tomorrow, I'll give you $20. If it doesn't snow, you give me $10. Like if people were just doing that all the time, then our epistemology would be held to a reasonable estimate much better. If we actually had to pay the price for the bullshit that we were pulling out of our asses about everything, all the unsubstantiated claims that we're making all the time, right? That sort of betting is it seems just incredibly valuable.
Taking a record of it.
Yeah.
Well, you're making people prove, you're making them like prove that they've done the research, basically. Like if you know something, you know something, and you know something. If you've really researched something, you know it, versus the next guy, like you should have no problem putting down money on something you really know, versus, we're dealing with these meatards that don't know what they're talking about 99% of the time. So it's like, it's a funny spectrum. But I have a question for you, Jeremy. Do you think you like Christmas movies because you're able to kind of visualize your childhood and doing Christmas, because you can't visualize what's it called?
Aphantasia.
What's it? Aphantasic?
I mean, Jeffrey, this came up the last time. And I told you I don't particularly like Christmas movies. I like A Christmas Carol.
No, I watched you do a podcast with Carson and you went over like 20 Christmas movies that you loved.
Lots of versions of A Christmas Carol, the book and the movies.
Different iterations.
We might have like peripherally mentioned some other. We might have mentioned It's a Wonderful Life or something, but no, I don't watch like a dozen Hallmark movies. And yeah, Home Alone is fun and Die Hard is a great movie, but like that's not mostly what I'm preoccupied with. It's Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, because it's such a profound story about ethics, life and death, fate, changing your fate. It's a modern myth. I mean, it's almost 200 years old, but it's still modern compared to Greek mythology. But it really is a modern myth that has so many profound aspects in all the different ways that it's been told. So I'm not obsessed with Christmas movies. I'm obsessed with that story.
Okay.
Does the kind of thing about being aphantasic. I don't. God, I don't know. I can't imagine when the ghost of Christmas past takes Scrooge through his past. I can't really like envision my going through my past and having it be visual, having it like have all of the sensory stimuli in front of me. I don't know what that would be like at all. When I think about my past, the wonderful things and then also the huge mistakes I've made, it's thinking about the fact that those things happened. But it's not like I'm reliving it. And so I don't know what it would be like if a ghost were to take me back and actually have me like see those sights and hear those voices again. Maybe that's partly addressing your question, but no, I care about A Christmas Carol because of the deep theoretical issues that it raises about our obligations in our lives, about our relationship to the moral mistakes of our past, especially I don't know if you've heard the talk I had with Jerome after the one with Carson. The one with Jerome, I think it is much better.
Really?
A lot more interesting things came up, but Scrooge has to go back to his past, and he has to learn how to care about himself, how to actually experience his own suffering and not be blocked off against it. before he can then move to the present and start to care about others. That to me holds a lot of relevance for veganism, for the process of going vegan. You have to be willing to open yourself up to your own empathy, to your ability to feel pain and guilt, in order to get to the point where you can expand that empathy into the other beings in our world, and then move on to the future, where you think about what your legacy is going to be and what kind of worlds you're going to work to leave behind. Listen to the talk I had with Jerome. But
where's that guy?
I mean, if you want to, where is he now? I don't know. He had just moved to Santa Monica from Utah, and I think he said in the chat that he's gonna be able to meet us this week, right? Didn't he say that last week?
He did. Devin did. We got people flaking out on us right now.
Bob's missing.
Do you Jeffrey? Did you see the other thing that's going on with Jerome though?
No.
The roommate, the ex-roommate, the guy who moved out before he moved in, sent him video of one of the roommates that Jerome is moving in with, horribly abusing his dog.
Oh boy.
So Jerome is asking us about how much, whether they can go to authorities, because this previous roommate secretly recorded this footage. So they're worried about that the laws concerning that.
That's kind of an interesting one, because like there's that gray area of like ag gag laws, and also like James O'Keefe with Project Veritas, like trying to get through those little loopholes in law where you're not allowed to use footage without people's permission, even if they're like breaking some like really bad law that they shouldn't, especially being in government. I mean, that's something that should probably be challenged as like a First Amendment violation if it's something that's really serious.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty messed up situation.
It's pretty messed up, and he's been committed to moving into this house. I think he said that the guy who's committing this abuse is not even on the lease. He's like a friend of the primary renter, and he's just
primary renter doesn't care.
He's just living there unofficially.
Yikes.
Probably a combination of doesn't know and doesn't care. So
yeah,
a lot of gray areas.
Jerome's trying to get advice and figure out how to deal with that. So
has he offered to take the dog off the guy's hands just before anything else?
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. I mean,
I just don't. It depends on the person, I guess. If it could be not responded to well if it's an aggro enough individual. But
dudes and their dogs are a little pretty weird.
Dudes are weird.
Well, if you're gonna take the dog off his hands within the same household, I don't know what that would do. But Jerome is moving with his own dog, so that's part of what he's concerned about too.
Yeah, and usually people that beat their dogs don't train their dogs very well either.
Mm-hmm.
So they aren't very good dogs to have other dogs around.
I mean, yeah, he would adopt it out, but still, yeah. So it's easy. Most people are not just be like, "Oh yeah, sure, take my dog," even though they abuse them.
Yeah. Unless they have like a full like.
But you never know. I mean,
it's that really unhealthy psychological connection. They got to be with the victim of their abuse. Like, you can't take them away.
Yeah.
Yep.
usually signs of much deeper issues.
Yeah, true.
Pent up aggression from childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it tends to be the case with animal abusers. The actual, I mean, slaughterhouse stuff, that's a completely separate thing where people have issues with, like, they'll develop PTSD or they maybe already had it. But yeah, animal abuse with, like, domesticated animals people own, that's usually some pretty deep stuff going on.
Yep.
Have you heard about those studies of domestic abuse incidents rising in areas where factory farms open up from the factory workers?
Mm-hmm.
Like new factory workers? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was didn't Earthling Ed put out a video recently where he was having, like, people who worked at slaughterhouses kind of, like, blow the whistle on what they went through and, like, how they had, like, PTSD.
Harley.
Yeah, it was a really good like expose of what's really going on, like, in the heads of people who have to be subjected to that stuff. Like, that's some pretty serious.
Yeah. You guys, there's the there's this vegan veterinarian talk at Vegan Campout, and she says at one point that her brother was murdered in a bar fight by a slaughterhouse.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah.
Yikes. Who was that Yahoo telling everyone that we got to take all the animals out of nature?
Yeah. But this woman said, she also says in her speech that like the method that the guy used to kill her brother with a knife is the method that
gut him or something.
Are trained in using, like, habitually use.
Yikes.
I mean, that's a good. I don't say good, but it's a human welfare standpoint. I mean, as far as arguing against animal slaughter and using their products, it's like looking at the effects of it. Okay, you're giving the responsibility away to someone else to kill these animals for you to eat, and what is the psychological effect of creating this job and these people, get these spaces for these jobs for people to fill and get mentally, what damage do they then do after the mental damage they receive from those jobs?
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously not very natural for humans to do if there's any sort of trauma inflicted. I mean, obviously it's on a mass scale, but still.
Yeah, and the fact that you have to adapt to it.
Yeah.
Like, that you have to adapt to, like, it's one thing having stressful work conditions, you signed on for it in certain, like office settings or retail, that's completely different kind of, like, stress. But when you're actually having to, like, shut off your conscience and, like, go into a completely different, like, survival headspace to, like,
go to work. Yeah.
Just every day too. Like, that's,
and, like,
it has its effects. Like, you can't get rid of it.
And, like, cops complain about not having enough respect from the general public. Like, these fucking guys are completely ignored.
Slaughterhouse.
Yeah, these slaughterhouse workers are completely, like, no one gives a fuck. Yet they, supply everyone with this stuff that they like so much. It's just like they're. I mean, it's almost just like they're looked at as, like, they're kind of like troops, like, sent off to war. Like, they're gonna come back fucked up, like, in the brain or physically or in the brain. Like, they're being sacrificed basically, and that's the whole blood cult, the whole death cult around carnism. That, like, that's those dudes too are being sacrificed.
Yeah,
for the cult.
Yeah,
and. It's just such a obvious thing, that is, like, kept under wraps. Like, oh no, the nice farmer loves dispatching is, like it's fucking insane.
Yeah, did you hear that that thing that Lube asked when he was on here? I was
His
trying
poem?
to like what?
His poem?
No, before that,
The bunny poem?
no, there was something
I
he
was here for
talking
that.
about. Yeah, that was amazing. But he was talking about the way that he handles like basically slaughtering the animals. Like he says he has his own cows and stuff, and he was saying that the way that he does it is he doesn't take them out of the environment. Like he doesn't, create that situation where they know they're being led up to die. He shoots them right in front of the other cows.
Oh, is
And
that what he was saying? He's like, the other cows don't care. They don't do anything. Wasn't he
They
saying?
start with like a pecking order, like a hierarchy, and they start fighting each other. And it's like, that means they're like traumatized. They're like,
he thinks that they're getting excited because they're getting to give their lives to us.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, literally, that's what the guy fucking thinks.
Human hostages, Nazi death camp victims didn't react especially strongly to their fellows being killed next to them either.
Yeah. Hell exists in war and factory farming. That's about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like there are people in all these different, alternative communities when you get into the conspiracy side of stuff. And I think it's kind of a Gnostic idea, if I'm not mistaken, that it's a belief that basically we're living on this like hell planet. Like it's, just a condition of existing. It's like a nihilistic view that just by us incarnating on the earth, we're being punished in a way. And it's like what Mark Passio gets into with like all the natural law stuff, it's like we're living in a hell of our own design because we create the conditions by not questioning any of it. So we perpetuate the cycles of violence and we stuff down the uncomfortable questions like veganism does in its nature. So we don't have to live in some sort of a hell planet. It's just a matter of people learning what's right and wrong.
Yep.
Really deep topic.
Yeah.
Doesn't that go back to I think is it the tarot card of like, I think it's the devil. I'm pretty sure Passio talked about this because like there's like a man and a woman chained to like a devil is like a Baphomet or some sort of like, character representing that. But the chains, they're like loosely bound. And that's kind of like the symbolism is like man being chained to that, to, whatever hellscape we may be on. It's like we're only loosely bound to it. There's still, will still has power. Yeah.
It's like, oh no, help me! I can't get out of this. I have to kill you. Like that's no, you're choosing to keep that collar on.
Choice, exactly. Yeah, it goes back to it's still the choice.
Yeah, it's a prison of your own design, basically, of your own choosing. Like it is crazy because that's what a lot of the ethical issues in this world really boil down to is just people not questioning the status quo enough. Yeah,
that's one of the profound aspects of A Christmas Carol. One of the many profound aspects.
Nice.
The way the way that that quote unquote hell is presented is with Jacob Marley carrying these chains, and they weren't externally imposed upon him. He describes them as what he had forged throughout his life. The chains that he forged by not caring about others, not caring about the world beyond himself,
or caring in general,
his own narrow selfish interests. Yeah, and then he says to Scrooge, do you not see the weight of chains you bear yourself? They were just as long 7 Christmas Eves ago, and you've labored on them since. And it's like every time that you fail to make a decision that makes the world a better place, that justifies your life by having a positive impact. You're forging these chains upon yourself, and Like that's what hell would be. And then when Scrooge looks at the window and sees he's able to see all the other spirits out on the street. And basically what they're doing is they're trying to make a difference. Like in the several of the better like film versions of Christmas Carol, you know, he sees the spirits, and there's a homeless person, you know, with a child, I think, freezing on the street, and the ghosts are trying to help. They're like, I can do anything to help, but they can't. They lack that power because they're dead. And so it's like this burden, that the idea of hell is bearing this burden of chains of desire to have the impact that you could have had while you were alive, and that you squandered. You spent your life squandering that opportunity, and now that you're dead, you're condemned to desperately wish to make that difference and know that it's too late. And I don't know what better depiction of hell there could possibly be than that.
Yeah, true.
I know there's like a lot of people I know that are like, you know, like I'm an anti-government guy for sure, but I don't blame all my life's problems on government. Like a lot of people I know, you know, it's the same kind of thing. It's like you give, you know, that's like the basis of agorism. You're giving away a lot of your freedom by, you know, involving yourself in a lot of the government stuff. And, you know, like you have like when I got into libertarianism originally, like it was very quick to go from libertarianism into anarchism, and then just being like, okay, well, I need to just start controlling my own life and not, you know, perpetually just continuing to be a tax slave and then complaining about it the whole time. You know, it's just kind of a pointless existence. And for me, it was just like, okay, well, I got to change the way things are as much as I can, because it seems like I have a lot of choice. You can choose to be a tax slave, or you can not. You can try and skirt around it. But a lot of people are scared of change.
Yeah, it's difficult. And I mean, that really is where it all starts, from an individual level. Like when you start to pick things apart and see, you know, we're all playing our individual roles, and should be pretty obvious at this point that, you know, we're perpetuating the whole governmental system just by paying into it, not questioning it more, like just participating in general. And yeah, it really does boil down to like the best way that you can affect any kind of a change is by changing your own life, seeing what's wrong in your own life, and becoming empowered. I guess sort of, I'm still getting into some of the more like spiritual study type stuff, but, you know, like self-actualizing, because when you can solve your problems for yourself, your own dilemmas, then by extension, you're able to solve it for other people, or at least help them get there through like your own experience. So that whole concept of like as above, so below, or something.
Yeah, well, that's what it means to be a man, you know, taking care of yourself and then taking care of the people around you.
Yeah. Or the whole oxygen thing on an airplane, like help yourself before you help others.
Yeah. You don't want to die halfway going to help someone else.
Yeah.
Sure.
It just sounds selfish, like, you know, on the surface, like both ways. You know, I've kind of struggled with this of, you know, the whole idea of like self-care, prioritizing myself so I don't get like burnt out or like any other kinds of issues that can happen with that. But like when you really think about it, it's like if you're spread too thin, you're not really able to be in service, or, you know, be as present
Anywhere.
and helpful.
Yeah.
Like everything starts to fall apart after a while. So you're not really helping, you're just scrambling at that point.
Yeah. But, you know, the problem is that a lot of times the people who say, I'm going to start with self-care, they're just like hypersensitive to when the self needs care. You know, usually like there might be some like severe like examples where
people need people who need safe spaces.
Yeah, there's some people who really need some kind of safe space, like somebody who has severe PTSD from being in a war zone or something like that. You know, there's some examples of that where you need, like, some people need like the extreme self-care, but for most of us, the self-care that's needed is just like fucking, fucking suck it up and do what's right for the community, do what's right for the animals, do what's right for the population of Earth, like I think what I'm saying is that that idea that self-care is the first step sometimes exists, but it's not the norm, and most of the time people are better off, it's sexist, but manning up or womaning up and caring about others a whole lot more and caring about their own narrow self-interest a lot less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's a line that has to be drawn with that. Like self-care maybe wasn't the best choice of words for that, but like taking accountability for your own life and, rectifying whatever issues you might have. It could be psychological in your general lifestyle. But when you're able to figure out, I heard this idea, and it might be like some kind of an alchemical or like hermetic principles type deal, but this idea that the key is in the room, which means like anytime you're having a problem and you start looking around, you're looking everywhere, but then you come to find that the solution, the key, was in the room. Like you had it internally. So it's just a matter of like, cognizing that, I guess, because, recognizing that you have something that needs to change, whether it's internal or external, and then just addressing it as you can. Like it's a gradual process. Like I'm dealing with some of that stuff myself, just kind of because I put myself into like a bubble where I'm like in my own little environment, like work from home type stuff, but it's proving to not be so conducive to other parts of my life. So I'm like trying to balance that out and get back. Like this, for instance, this podcast helped me to like get out of my shell a little more too, kind of reintegrating. But yeah,
part of it is realizing that that death isn't so bad. No, that's not quite right. I mean, it's actually very bad, but it's not nearly as bad as other things, such as being responsible for massive amounts of suffering to others, and death to others. It's cheesy, but in the Harry Potter books, there's this exchange between Voldemort and Dumbledore where, Voldemort says nothing is worse than death. And Dumbledore says, that's the root of your error, something like that. It's a vital step to moral. I wanted to say transcendence, but that's too like bullshit vague. But moral advance, let's say, it's a vital step to realize that there are many kinds of negative consequence that are much worse than your own death. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if your biggest fear in life is death, that's a big issue with a lot of the globalist types where they want to like try to live forever, and oftentimes it's with poor lifestyle choices and being like tyrannical. So they're preserving this horrible lifestyle. So to them, the idea of dying is like tragic. It's the worst thing that could happen because they don't get to
spend all their money.
they're so grounded in like materialism and consumerism and just trying to maintain that power structure that, you know, that is the worst possible case, because what if your legacy doesn't go on to dominate the world? So, you know, the whole idea of like, you know, that's where you kind of get into that, like, I guess, hero's journey sort of deal where people learn to sacrifice themselves towards some cause that's actually meaningful. And like, you know, veganism is a great first step because you're doing your part, even if it's at the moment not, you know, yielding the kind of results that you would hope for, like saving a bunch of animals. You're still, at least just your existence becomes like a flag that, you know, you're saying like, you know, there are some problems here, and just me being in the room with you is probably going to make you uncomfortable if you're not aware of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, we remind them that they're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they really don't like it.
Yeah, and a lot of people are kind of like right on the edge of, you know, that I've been seeing a number of people recently that, you know, when it comes up that I'm vegan, they're like actually really curious about it. You know, it's not combative like it is on the internet. Some people have their doubts, but some people are like right there, like they're riding the fence, like, yeah, I've been watching some stuff, and they're really receptive.
I feel this I feel when I really dive into my veganism, especially when I'm thinking alone, I feel this connection to the people in the past who devoted their lives to opposing slavery. And you know, they're all dead today. They're all gone. And the ridicule that they endured, you know, sometimes the threat of violence against themselves, the frustration at the slow progress, and you know, now they're all dead, but
sorry,
that's good.
Good comedic relief timing.
But you know, but the people who are fucking cowardly, I mean, yes, the people who were sadistic and loved slavery, they're also all dead. And the people who sensed that slavery was horrible but were fucking cowards and didn't say a goddamn thing against it because they would be labeled as weird. You know, how do you know somebody's an abolitionist? Don't worry, they'll tell you. The people who are fucking too scared to say a goddamn thing about their feelings, they are also all dead. All of them are all dead. So why the fuck not be a hero on your way to the grave?
That's a good point. I mean, like when, you know, the whole founding of the country, I'm still learning about a lot of yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like I was talking about a book a while back that like I went through it really kind of quickly, but which one is it? It's like The Secret Destiny of America. Manly P. Hall wrote it, and he talks about like some of the like Freemasonry ties and like really suspicious kind of things that were going on with the, you know, the like formation of the country. Some interesting like communistic sort of undertones, but it's weird because there were people like Thomas Paine. He was apparently one of the most outspoken of all of the, you know, abolitionists, or no, well, yeah, because he was so against government basically, and like the tyranny of the king and all that stuff, and like he couldn't actually get his ideals adopted by as many people as he was trying. Like he was trying to go further than, you know, just making like a constitution or whatever to, you know, try to limit government. Like he was about just completely getting rid of it all. He's probably one of the original anarchists of our country's time, I guess. So it's always interesting to see if there's even a step you go further. Like with veganism, should we stop the carnivorous animals? It's like, I think that one's a little too far, but that's cutting into nature, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There's always the two extremes of like, the people who are martyrs for like freedom and abolition. And then there's the people who are just complacent. They can't be bothered with like anything that contradicts their happy little worldview.
Well, didn't the first American Revolution, didn't it happen with only like 7% of the population? Like it didn't take that much to get it going.
Yeah, there's power in numbers. Really does not take much.
I feel embarrassed that I don't know which poet this line is actually from, but do you guys know the line, "A coward dies 1,000 deaths, a brave man only one"?
Mm.
You know, you can't.
Mark Twain.
You can't escape death, but yeah, if you're just caving to whatever the conventional immorality is, your whole life is just repeated metaphorical deaths, and you're still gonna have the literal death. You're not gonna escape that.
Yeah.
But if you've got the stones to stand up for for reason and empathy, and what it tells you is right, then yeah, it does sound like Kipling. I thought it probably was Kipling, but Kipling has a lot of bullshit. But if that's actually Kipling, then Kipling said something good. Because yeah, when you live your life standing up for what's right, then you die, but everybody else dies too, and but they die as fucking conformist, cowardly pussies, and you die as much of a hero as you had a chance to be, right?
Well, on that note, we're 10 minutes over. It's this girl's birthday, so I don't want to keep her too long on the show.
Oh yeah. Well, that was a good show.
Let's all hit everyone else up and make sure these motherfuckers show up next week.
Yeah, we had kind of an empty panel this time. Still did pretty good. Good content.
But I did notice the numbers have gone up 100 every week.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I'm gonna stay consistent, and hopefully, because that looks like a YouTube algorithm thing, that looks like they like what we're doing. So it looks like they're gonna push it a little bit. So I'm gonna try and definitely keep it going.
Yeah, let's try to get some more of these like controversial topics, like the whole Jesus was a vegan kind of thing. Like, I want to see that.
Yeah, no. Well, okay. So Jason, I keep telling Jason, I'm like, hey, come on at 5 on Fridays. He keeps scheduling himself to have a live stream at 5 on Fridays. So obviously Jason's getting scared. Yeah, Zen's watching Redbar.
Oh.
So yeah. Yeah. So anyway, next week. Thanks for coming by, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We'll talk to you guys later.
All right, peace.
Happy birthday, Allie!
Happy birthday.